community is trapped upon, and so many of them seem is as if they are broke, so to speak. You know, what they create, they are supposed to make a lot of money or make a living out of that, but we don't see that happening in some quarters. And so it's important as we join the world today to mark the day, to look at this intellectual property and how it's going or how far in Nigeria. In the studio this morning, I have a teacher and also an author, Dr. Uche Nyago. Good to have you in the studio, Uche.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. First of all, let's understand, I think it's important we have a clearer picture of what intellectual property actually means.
Okay, it's just a kind of act created around 2020, around this time, 2020, to protect the copyright and, you know, give rights to people who have any kind of creativity. Because a lot of people tend to steal what does not belong to them. So this particular forum was created to ensure that at least such theft is, you know, reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay. Now, we know that in Nigeria, we have a lot of creative people in this country. The likes of late Chinua Achebe, the likes of Chimamanda Adichie. Is that what we call intellectual property, so to speak?
Yes, it is part. They are part of what we're discussing.
Give us more examples.
Then,
you know,
the musicians,
okay,
like the cartoonists and all whatnot, even though the cartoonists, of course, yes, they are part of it. Musicians, video, and those in film industry. You produce something now, the next time you see that particular thing adulterated, you see it everywhere, and then those who actually have the something, they go hungry. Whereas those who don't have anything to do with that, who don't, those who were not there when the original creativity was made, you see them, you know, making billions out of what they knew nothing about. Then I think around 2 years ago, I went to the market to buy one particular music, and I paid how much for that, what I should have used to buy the original one. And these people, they packaged the something as though it was original, showed me the original one I paid. The thing was given to me. Once I drove out, I brought it out, discovered it was adulterated. So all these things, not only writers, musicians, filmmakers, and all whatnot, yes, they are part of this.
Intellectual, okay. Now, looking at the creative industry in Nigeria, you know, which is part of what we are celebrating today as the world marks International Intellectual Property Day. We see a lot of our people, you know, they have what it takes. For instance, let me take writers, for instance. A lot of young people have come to this platform to tell us what they are capable of coming up with. But a lot of time, you hear, they have a lot of challenges, you know, coming out or blooming the way they should. What do you think is the problem here?
Well, I think the major problem is this issue of piracy, and that's what this forum is trying to, you know, fight against. My first book was published, I think 2009 or thereabouts, and I know what I put in to get the book out. Then after 2 years, I began to see the books everywhere. But I know I have not been able to sell the original copy, the original number I produced, but the book was seen everywhere. And you see a writer today, a lot of people ask, Uche, I want to write. What do I do? And, you know, I told them, to write is a good thing, right? But if your aim is just to write and make it become a billionaire, billionaire in Nigeria, well, it's not going to work out, because once your book begins to sell, once your book your book or whatever begins to sell, you see, you will be there. The only thing you gain is that your name will become popular. But the book will be everywhere. You are not in charge. There are people somewhere, you know, selling what you have just produced. They are selling, not remitting the money to you. You just, you know, take a reasonable amount of money to produce something. Then, because the work belongs to you, a publisher may publish it. The publisher will pay you royalty, pay the workers, and pay all these other persons. But those who pirate the book, they don't pay anybody. They just use cheap material to produce this, and the book will be selling. You don't have anything. And when such happens, you see writers, when they publish and they gain nothing from what they have published, next time they just get discouraged. You ask them to write again. They will tell you, we have a lot to write, but instead of writing and making some people rich, let me just remain where I am.
Now, we have a copyright law in this country. Does it mean that the law is not actually working, or the law is, nobody has actually gone to court to challenge the copyright issue in this country?
Well, I'm sorry to say this. I think from head to toe, more than 80% of Nigerians, more than 80 of Nigerians are corrupt. Yes. And people tend to be selfish, sort of. We know, even those people who pirate, we know, some of us know them. You get them incarcerated. The following day, they just break their way out. And like one of my publishers has called me, Uche, your book is published, is pirated. What do we do? Come out, let us go and fight piracy. I said, I should come out. The last time I came out, in fact, I was almost killed at Onitsha main market. We saw them. We got some policemen to, you know, join us to the main market to arrest those persons. They were actually arrested. Then the following day, what I got was that those people had been released. What happened? Who released them? And not long after, I got threat messages. Uche, if you feel you are Messiah, you must stop this. You're not the only person whose book has been published, has been pirated. So, and when you get such threats, you as an author, you tend to, you know, exhibit a
because
kind of Philistine tendency. Yes, because you don't want to die. Then the policemen, they are just there, they know the truth. A police officer has seen me with some of my books in my vehicle. And look at, he saw the picture. He knew I was the one, but he continued to ask, who has this book? Why do you carry this book? I said, oh God, this is my book, this is my work. And if you see a person who pirates, you just allow the person to go once the person tips in. Because I said I'm not going to give you anything. That's why you delay me here. So if police can come out and do their work, and some other persons, those at the helm of authority, if they will give support to this, I think this will stop. It is rampant here in Nigeria. Outside the border, it is not like that, because their copyright, whatever, is strong there, but so weak.
Now, when we talk about intellectual property, you know, I know and I believe strongly that this could contribute to the GDP growth of a state, a nation. Now, what do you think happens when the intellectual property of individuals are pirated, are copyrighted, and nothing is done about it? What effect do you think it's going to have on our economy generally?
Well, one thing is that those who pirate, they don't pay tax. They don't pay tax because nobody knows them. But the original publisher is registered. And those people, they do not register their company anyway. They are just like ghosts, working from nowhere, but working from somewhere. They don't pay tax, nobody knows them. So nothing goes from them to the government. And if a republisher publishes, he has something he remits to the government, pays the author. And a lot of publishers have just stopped publishing. I can give you some examples of publishers who stopped publishing. Then you ask them, why did you stop? They said, the business is no longer thriving. It doesn't thrive again because they benefit nothing after publishing. Then some other persons will just pirate the whole thing. And when companies fold because pirates deal with them, the companies fold, then we clamor that let people come out and build companies, do all these things. The ones existing are going back simply because pirates are just, causing a lot of havoc. So it has a lot negatively to contribute.
All right, the program is 2022 International Intellectual Property Day, being marked 26th April 2022 every year. And this year's the theme for this year focuses on IP and youth innovating for a better future. Now, let's see, we have the ICT has helped, and the people now publish on Amazon and all whatnot. Do you think this can actually help to a large extent in curbing, the stealing of intellectual property in our country, Nigeria?
Well, the issue of Amazon, yes, and then publishing online. Not so many people have penchant for reading online works. Yes, the traditional publishing has been what...
that's where the world is going today, when ICT is the in thing now.
Yeah. Well, everything that has advantage has disadvantage as well. Amazon and all whatnot, the society is dynamic, mutating towards that. Yes, it somehow, to an extent, it helps, but to what extent is education level of Nigerians? We have so many people who are educated in Nigeria, but then they are illiterate. Illiterate in the sense that so many educated persons cannot operate the computer. So many of them may download something from the computer. After going through that, they just tend to discard it. But when you give the person has a hard copy work, after reading that, he will keep it for the children. Like some of the novels I used in the university and the secondary school were the ones I inherited from my father. And you go through that. After reading that, I kept them for my own children. But the online whatever will read and tend to forget about it, tend to drop it, even though to an extent it helps. But even Nigerian publishers, how many of them have migrated to that level? At least some of the publishers I know here, they still rely so much on the traditional publishing.
Okay, now the young ones, the youth, which the theme for this year is focusing on, we know that virtually all the things they do is online. Some of they grew up knowing about this. Is there where they grew up, so it's like their thing. How do you think they can leverage on these ICTs, to make wave in the area of intellectual property?
Okay. Well, children, use of these days, they make use of ICT, do all those things, but how they can is, you as a parent, you are enlightened. What about those other persons in the village, who cannot even get enough money to solve some of their problems? How do you expect them to buy Android phone and all these things for their children? It's somehow, I don't say that.
But for the benefit, for those that have access, most of the youths have access to ICT. those that have assets, don't you think they can leverage on the intellectual property to become what they ought to become in life?
They can, but those who have access, how many of them have the intuition of, going through this, making use of that positively? I know so many people here who have asset, they have Android phone, they have every other thing, but what do they make use of it? What do they use it for? Not for this. If such is going to be possible, I think a lot of sensitization is needed. We'll sensitize these people. This is what is. If you make use of a phone, try to remove certain things that are not, the children are not supposed to. Phone and ICT, somehow, these things are just brought up. They are introduced to help the society grow, but our youth tend to use it negatively. So many things. Get those children, even the undergraduates, get their phone, open their apps. What do you see? Those things that they should make use of, they should be making use of this for. They don't use that for anything positive. I opened a student, I collected the phone from, and how the student was, fighting to collect the phone, retrieve the phone from me. What happened? I insisted I must see. Open this phone. When the phone was opened, what I saw there wasn't anything to write home about. Yeah, so many sites. And of course, those of them that make use of that, when they read, give a child a textbook. Just give a child or the students books to read. Go and read this book, read that book. They prefer. So a student has come to me, told me, sir, please, these books are not on the net. I said, the books are there on the net. Go and search. He said, no, I saw the full text, but I need the abridged text. In other words, what they make use of the phone for, they do not just download the text to read the text. They won't go to the market to buy the text. They won't even download. They are looking for cheap, abridged material. And when they see the abridged material, they just read this. The vital information contained in that book is eluded, because if, for instance, Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, the full text is there on the net. And those who understand, if they can't see the book anywhere, they just download, read. But how many of them? The other people, they are just there, the internet.
But we can encourage some that are ready to utilize that,
Yes, we'll do that. We'll do that. We encourage them, but after telling them, you go home, they are there to do whatever their mind tells them. And they just read to pass exams and not for any other thing. Once they download the text and discover that it is the full text, they will tell you what's the essence of this. They will drop it, look for the abridged. And once they get the abridged text, they read only the summary.
All right, you hold it. Well, the program is 2022 International Intellectual Property Day, and we are with Uche Nyago in the studio, an author and also a teacher. We take a short break here. When we return, we're going to look at actually how we can protect the intellectual property we have around and so much more. That will be after we've gone for the strict work.
It's all about individual differences, if you ask me. One has to be ready first before you begin to have a nest. Well, if you're not ready, whatever that happens, even if you are giving money, even if you are supported, you can't do anything. Sometimes people talk about supporting and things like that. When you give them money, they divert it to some other things. So it's all about that you want to do this thing. You are willing to do it and you are willing to excel. That's the important thing. Before you begin to talk about people that will support you and how government will come in. First, provide security. Second, provide security. Third, provide security. Then go back to the schools and let teachers go back to schools. Then when the student is reading, he will have that concentration. You have that belief that at the end of the day, the society is coming into is a sane society. Now we are in a riotous society. You cannot be talking about insecurity, about the youth bringing out their best or their creativity when the society is in abeyance. Nothing is happening. Nobody wants to be idle. But because now the students are in the field, are in the, all over the place, the schools are closed, they will begin to do many other things to make money. So there are many things to be done to bring out the creativity in youth. Provide the necessary enablements in the society, the soft landing. Then the students, the people, the youths can now begin to bring out the best in them.
We can harness potentials in the youth by creating business opportunities, employable opportunities, where the youths will be targeted to be employed. When government sets up these opportunity areas, youth will be employed and some of them will be getting some money. When somebody is getting that kind of income, you can get started with whatever thing that God has built in him.
All right, I still have Dr. Uche Nyago in the studio talking about the 2022 International Intellectual Property Day. Now, Uche, as we wrap up the show, how do you think we can protect our intellectual property in this part of the world?
I think in Igbo, there's something they say. Nigeria seems to be the only country where this is not taken seriously. Chimamanda Adichie, while she was in Nigeria, she published a particular book. Nobody knew Chimamanda. And even that book, When Love Whispers, was published, before Chimamanda knew it, the book was pirated even before the book
came out.
Yeah. So, and that book did not bring Chimamanda to the limelight. Then Chimamanda traveled. When she traveled, she published a work, and then the book began to sell like pure water. And if it were here in Nigeria, Chimamanda wouldn't have seen half kobo from that. The book sold like pure water. Then, in the United States of America and some other countries, their copyright whatever is very strong. And that's why we have not had for a number of years that the book was pirated. Okay. But here in Nigeria, once you do anything, once you produce anything, just give it a few weeks, few months, the book or the music or the film goes everywhere. And the book going everywhere, not the original one, the pirated. If government is serious about this, I think something can still be done. And what government should do, take this law seriously. If anyone is caught pirating someone's book, let the full weight of the law be on that person.
To serve as deterrent.
Yes, to serve as deterrent.
All right, and at this point, we'd like to appreciate you so much, Uche Nyago, an author and teacher, talking to us today on 2022 International Intellectual Property Day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, we thank you for this time out. More coming on Good Morning, Anambra. Do stay.